Hello everyone, so today I'll be introducing Tinkercad Autodesk. It's essentially a CAD tool or computer aided design and drafting tool. It is essentially if you want to 3D print something, this is the drawing pad for it. And it's a super human-centered, really usable tool for students. So today I'm going to focus on the 3D design option because in order to do the electronics and coding one, you will need to have a foundational knowledge of that. And most people use it for the 3D design option. So I will be going for this part specifically. So let's sign in. Okay, so as an educator, you can use the educator option. And what I really like about this option is that it's essentially like a Google Classroom format where if you sign in as a teacher, you can give your students a class code and you'll be able to access all of their work. So you'll be able to see it, you'll be able to click into it. For students, however, you can sign in with any email. You can use Google, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, anything like that, but you do need an email to sign up. On top of that, this is a free of charge service. I'm just going to sign in into my educator account. Okay, so here is the main page. This is kind of like the recent designs library. On the top right, here are some of the options. Here are some classes, gallery, blog, learn, and teach. So for classes, this is where teachers are able to see all of their classes that they've created. So I can create a class for, let's say this is my science class, block 1. And I can select the age grade, I can select a subject. So this is really great for teachers. Under gallery is essentially where you'll see a lot of other people's work, other people's done on Tinkercad, and they voluntarily shared it with Tinkercad. So you can see there's so many different options. This is where I like to take some inspiration on what other people have done on this platform. And as you can see, there's so much like diversity. There's people doing cakes, boats, room designs. You can really make anything on a 3D printer or 3D modeling tool. Under blog, this is where you will find a lot of tips and tricks that Tinkercad has shared with everyone. So this is a great educator's tool because you'll find things like guide to circuits, inspiration. So this is where you'll find things that maybe other teachers have done with their students. So a lot of inspiration for lessons can be taken here. You can go to teachers and parents. Here are even more inspiration, introducing kits for classrooms and all of these things. Guide to Tinkercad Classroom. So this is a great place to familiarize yourself before you introduce the tool to your students. And then I'm going to go into Learn. So these are essentially like first-timer guides that Tinkercad has offered to everyone to learn the very basics of how to use Tinkercad. If it was shorter, I would definitely go through it step by step with you, but it's essentially like I will click into it just to show you, but Tinkercad basically telling you, hey, here is how to drag this over. So I've already done one thing. Let's go to the next one. Here is the how to delete an object. Here is how to make this object bigger. Here is how to see the measurements. It's essentially like a step-by-step guide on how to use this basic tools, but it's so long that I'm not gonna go through everything with you, but I recommend it going through with students prior to actually like giving them free rein on what to do. See, these are like step-by-step instructions essentially on how to use the Tinkercad tool. Okay, so hopefully some magic editing here. Boom, we're back to the main page. So I'm just going to show you one of the intro projects I do with my grade 7s. And the first thing I make everyone do is to make their own name tag that we can then eventually print out on a 3D printer. Just because it's nice to have something they can take home. Okay, so now I'm on the plane. So this is a blank slate. You can do anything with this. So on the top left, as you can see, I'm rotating this cube, and this gives you 360 control of this plane, this work plane. So I'm gonna do is do a name tag. So on the right side, you'll see that this is essentially a library, and you'll find a number of objects that you can use for building anything that you want. So you have creatures and characters, you have basic shapes we can use as like a starter to make essentially any design you like. You can do fun and games. So these are already designed by Tinkercad, and you can click and drag these into your design. So for example, let's say I want a house. Then I can click this for the roof and I can adjust the size. And I can click a cube and also adjust the size for that to make a house. And then click and drag it. I can make it taller by using this cone shaped. So I'm essentially using the nodes on each corner and each side to adjust the size of the shape. So everything is customizable. You can rotate everything 360 as well with these curved arrows over here. So you can curve left, curve right, you can move it all over the plane, adjust for size, and you can visualize it by clicking and dragging the cube on the top left. Now, the first thing I make is the name tag. So what I'm going to do is use the text option. So I'm going to click and drag this over, and over here I can enter my name as Cindy. So here I can adjust to make it larger. As you can see, as I'm expanding, you can see the measurements of the width and the length. And I can make it taller, I can make it higher like that by clicking and dragging. And the second thing I'm going to do is I need a keyring. So I'm going to go into the library and I'm going to use something like, I think a tube would work really well. I'm going to click and drag this over. As you can see the measurements, I'm going to make it slightly less thick. And as you can see, I can adjust every measurement possible on, essentially this is the control panel. So I can adjust the radius, I can adjust the wall thickness, so I can make it more thick or less thick, the hole smaller or bigger. I can adjust the size, so this is super cool. I can make it triangular. I can adjust the bevel, which essentially makes it more curved, and the segments as well. So it is so customizable. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. Now, in order to 3D print this in one piece, what I need to do is group it. So grouping it makes it one object. So I'm going to select all, and I'm going to press the group button on the top right here. So this essentially makes it one object, and I can drag it however like this. And I can also hide it. Let's say I'm designing another thing and this is in the way and I don't want to see it, but I don't want to delete it. So I can click the light bulb to hide it and then re-click the light bulb to make it appear. I can also make comments by clicking on the note tool over here. So this is kind of similar to Google Note. You can add a comment. So this is like, this is my name tag. Now, I want to export this design. How do I do that? I can press the export button right here, and these are the formats that are typically used for 3D printing. So when you export it, you basically put it on your USB and then you transfer your USB to your 3D printer, and that's how you print this out usually. You can also send it directly to one of these 3D printers that are among these brands. You can also use it for laser cutting, so that's really cool. And I wanted to show you guys a couple of designs from things that other people made that I think are really great for student lesson ideas. So the first thing I wanted to show is this eco house design. Now, I didn't make this. I saw it off of the gallery and it was shareable. So this is an amazing cross-curricular idea with science and engineering. So as you can see, a student made this from scratch from all of these basic shapes and all of these options here, and they compiled it into this eco house. I can like click and drag every component apart. This is such a complex design. I think this is really cool, and I think it's awesome for visual learners out there. So instead of having something on a 2D piece of paper, they can have a 3D rendering, and if they have access to a 3D printer, they can actually print this out. So I thought this is a super interesting cross-curricular example. I also wanted to show you another one of a 3D water cycle. So this is something in the science curriculum. Another great example of visualizing, and as you can see, these are just made from the basic shapes, and on top of the mountains and everything, these are already ready to go in the Tinkercad library. If you browse through some of its designs, they have a lot of the everyday items here. So yeah, another really good example. And also to note, these projects are saved automatically, so you do not need to save it, similar to a Google Drive, Google Doc. And to undo something, you can see the undo button here. Delete something, you can press the trash can after you select something. So I thought these are some basic steps that everyone should know. But yeah, I think this is so cool. You can use it for so many different lessons, and if you were to use this, I would highly recommend using the Teach tool to go through what are some lesson plans already available. You can even do cross-curricular with language arts, which was one of my favorite options that they offer here. here, and that's my presentation. Thank you so much.